Okay, so first question in our relationship questions is, how long have you been married?
I don't know. How long have we been married?
31 years.
Has it been 31 years?
31 years.
And 1 month.
Is that 30? Is that 31 years in dog years? No, that's 31 in regular human years.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Which is 144,000 in dog years.
I would have never known that.
I'm just making it up. I don't know either.
Okay, the next question is, what was the hardest lesson you wish you learned early in your marriage?
Patience. Patience. That things were. See, Deb and I both grew up. I was an only child, and Deb grew up as an only child.
Not really an only child,
but she grew up as an only child because almost everybody was gone, right?
Yes.
So if they're not there, you're the only one, and I was the only one. So when you're an only child, you have a tendency to not be all that patient about stuff, and to not be all that considerate of other folks because you hadn't had to be.
No.
So if you learned that lesson early, that would have made some things, I guess, a little easier over time.
Okay, very good advice. How do you overcome circumstances where you want to give up on the other person?
I think you have to, again, that patience comes in. Because you have to be patient with that. You know, they may have had a different upbringing than you had. Whereas he said we both were kind of, only child. But I was brought up in a Christian home, in the things, going to church every Sunday and twice a week, and the regular things that I was used to, whereas he was not. So you have to really look at the background and the way people were raised and understand they don't see it the way you do. You got to understand that.
And what we always say is that, and when I'm talking to people who are thinking about marriage and the relationships, that the relationship has got to be the most important thing. And if the relationship is first, and maintaining a relationship is first, all the things in the meantime, all the foibles and all that stuff, do they mount up to the relationship? Is this thing so important that it's worth the relationship? And what you'll find out is that most times it's not. Most times it's a temporary something that you're bugged about, which is not worth crap canning the whole relationship. Yeah. So it's also, so long as you keep that perspective, then you can get through and buy things. You can get by things and through things.
That's good. I think definitely having that standard.
Yes, that's the standard.
Things in perspective.
The whole idea is it worth the relationship?
I always say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You want to have peace. Yeah. Sometimes you know that you're right about something, but that person doesn't understand the situation, so
or doesn't understand it the way you understand it.
Yes.
Very true. That's good. What is the best technique for overcoming communication failure? Kind of
communicating.
Like doesn't understand.
Communicating. and understanding and knowing your partner enough to know how to communicate. Some people are okay with being talked to or being talked at immediately about the situation. Some folks, it takes a little time.
They need a little time.
They need a little time to decompress and process. So really, unless the person is standing in the street about to get hit by a car, most things can wait a little bit. Most things can wait a day till everybody can talk about it in a more rational, sometimes less emotional moment. Some people, and you may have a spouse or you may have a partner in a situation who is a lot more emotional and needs to be emotional at the time. Who needs to be emotional at the time?
Dramatic.
Yeah. And sometimes that's how it's going to be. And we're back to the standard. Does that bug you enough to not care about the relationship?
To risk the relationship.
Yeah, and most times no, but you have to understand that people communicate in different ways. And like again, people like to be talked to. Some people, and so, you know what? Once you tell somebody something, a lot of times it just takes a while for them to process it and deal with it and make whatever changes they can make. And sometimes they're not going to make. Most times they're not going to make changes nearly as quickly as we'd like them to make. Mm-hmm. They're just not going to because they're another human being. They're not you. They don't see things like you do. They don't hear things like that you do. They don't process like you do. And you have to be aware of that. And as long as you become aware of that, as you get to know your partner, then you'll find out that you can get through and by and around stuff. So,
and sometimes it requires you to change. You're looking for your partner to change their aspect and their way of their doing. Maybe you should adapt to.
I told you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, but when you told me with a venom that I decided not to listen to. Mm-hmm. So
they tone it out.
So I tone it out because you told me in a way I didn't want to hear it. So yes, in order to get through communicative problems, yes, the short answer is to communicate. But to be able to communicate effectively, you have to know who your partner is and how they accept what communication they'll accept. Mm-hmm. You can't talk to everybody. You can't talk to everybody the same way. You just can't.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Talk to everybody the same way.
Very true. I think that's even that can be
in every relationship, whether you have a friend relationship, your business relationship, with your boss or your parents or whatever. You can't come at everybody the same way. No, you just can't because they're not going to receive it the same way.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yes, that definitely applies to everyone. Friendships and everything.
Yes, I used to always say that in management because people are like, you should treat everybody the same, but you can't because everybody doesn't react the same way. So you can't treat everybody in the same way because they're not going to respond to the way you're presenting it.
That's good. That's very good. When things get hard, how do you keep the relationship afloat?
Prayer, lots of prayer.
Well, prayer.
I'm a prayer person, and I have started recently even doing scripture writing and praying and keeping a journal of things that I need, that I desire and things that God is telling me. Mm-hmm. And really, a lot of things we've come in the last few years of our marriage. We haven't always been this. No. You're going to change. I mean, that's the deal. You're going to change and evolve and hopefully get better. When things get hard, again, the focus on the things that are important is extremely, extremely important. Obviously, prayer and focusing on what God has promised you as the standard, that those kind of things. But really, it always goes back to what's really important here, because it's so easy to get caught up in the circumstances. It's just so easy to get caught up in the circumstances. And for a lot of people, the circumstances are devastating. They scream a lot louder than
whatever the reality actually is. Mm-hmm. And how close you are to that you can get by this, but the circumstances are banging at the door and breaking windows and turning furniture over. And it's sometimes too much the circumstances are too much for people because they don't have any perspective. So gain perspective. Okay. Maintain perspective. Okay,
so what happens to your friendships once you get married? Or the
friends? I don't have any friends.
No.
I told them all, I'm done. We hugged at the wedding and I've never seen them again. Come here, guys. Love y'all. See ya. See you at the end. They change because they're your friends when you're, I don't know, I got married at 27. My boys were my boys. Mm-hmm. They were important to me. And not that they're not important to me now, but just like every level of relationship changes because there's another relationship that is actually more, I know no other way to say it, is more important. Mm-hmm. And your friends understand that. Mm-hmm. They don't.
If they are true friends.
If your friends understand that, I mean, your boys understand that they are not number one on your hit list anymore. They're not number one anymore. They're not. They're so important because they help you get to where you are if they're good friends, but they're not the most important thing in your life. So you may not get that call to go play basketball on Sunday or that Saturday because they know that you're doing something else, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't put any pressure on you. So those relationships, I think, have to change. Mm-hmm. And I think people who get in trouble, who put their friend on the same level as their husband or their wife, end up in trouble because they don't have, and I keep going back to this word, they don't have perspective. They don't really know what's they haven't learned that your relationship is now the most, with your spouse, is the most important relationship that you have next to a relationship that you have with Christ. So, yeah, things have to change. Things have to change. I tell people all the time, if they don't change, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. If you say, "Oh man, single just like it was when I was single," I
can go hang out with my
you're still going to be
whenever.
You're going to be single again soon. Mm-hmm. You're going to be single again soon because this is not how it's supposed to work.
And sometimes it's tough because your spouse may not get along with your friends. They may not like them. You would hope that you all could come together, but your spouse may not get along with your friends in the same manner that you do. Because we had some of that earlier in our relationship.
I got some rough friends.
When, well, I'm talking about my friends that I had at Pizza Hut, Marie, and all that.
Your friends are wild.
He didn't care for them.
No, not much.
And so it was tough for me during those first years when we were dating, and then when and I tried to keep the friendship with Marie and all the people that I worked with at Pizza Hut, and even went to high school with some of those. But when your focus changes, sometimes they can't be your close friends anymore.
They don't end up in your circle. Mm-hmm. You know, I still have a couple of friends from that time, but I know it's amazing, but I'm not a person who had a whole bunch of friends. Mm-hmm. I know a whole bunch of people, but I didn't have a whole bunch of friends.
Acquaintances. I still have a lot
of people that I knew, but
no true blue friends that hung in.
I have two or three guys that I can call at this point in my life that I can call friends. You know, that I have their cell phone. I have their cell phone number in my phone. That's sort of that's how I know. And I've used it. You know, that's how I know they're my friends. That I know that I have their cell phone number in my phone. You know, not just people I went to high school that I don't talk to anymore.
Mm-hmm. Very good. How do you keep your spouse happy in a long-lasting marriage?
Sometimes you don't know. The truth.
Somebody asked a question. It was Pastor Smart over at one of the Baptist churches in town. He said, "You know what? How are you at exploring your spouse?" And my answer on Facebook was, "I try to explore, but the landscape keeps changing." I thought I was okay, but the landscape keeps changing.
Because
be present.
Fortunately and unfortunately, we change over time. Mm-hmm. And what made me happy 20 years ago, it doesn't anymore. So he may be trying to do things that
you have to know your spouse, and
in every stage.
Yeah, you have to because everybody's changing. This is a shifting sands on the top because of age and health and maturity. Things change, and so knowing your spouse, being present, because that's the only way that you're going to know what's going to make them happy. That's because it's going to change from when you're 27 till you're 57. Anybody who's the same for 30 years, I don't know what's wrong. So if you want to hang out with that dude, you know, it's like you haven't changed since you were 27.
And therein comes the communication again, because you got to talk about it, you know, every now and then, and it can be tough sometimes to tell them, you know, I don't like that anymore, so don't do it.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. I stopped doing that. You know, it's like way back, I don't know, 30 years ago, you used to imbibe don't imbibe anymore. Haven't imbibed in years.
Did what?
Drink.
Oh.
College work for Catherine. College work for Catherine, for the writer. But you know what? So when and it was really never problematic. But it was one of those things that we used to do, but I just don't do. So there isn't. So that was a dynamic in your life that just changed. So my friends had to deal with that too. Oh, Will doesn't drink anymore. He's a teetotaler. He's a holy roller now. Well, yeah, it's funny, you know what, and that was, and people say, and my friend said that early, but they respect the consistency. It hasn't been, and they respected that I wasn't a hypocrite about it. I wasn't a holy roller for 3 weeks, and then let's go get a picture. It's like, nah, Will doesn't drink anymore. Okay, so things in your life changing with your spouse, and keeping them happy over the time is being present, being there, and being aware. Very, very important. That way you know.
That's good.
And sometimes you have to ask them. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want to eat? We do sound like the old couple sometimes. We're going for the blue plate special, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? Serious. It is hysterical.
That happens to me now. I'm not married.
What do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Let's just go home. Okay.
Okay. Once kids start coming along, what's one way to keep your marriage a priority?
By keeping your marriage a priority.
Yes. Always remember to put your, even though the child is very important, put your time with your spouse, keep it more important.
Yeah, we did a program about that, and we said that the parent. The title of the program sort of sparked some controversy. The title was that parents are more important than children, and it's hard because, of course, children can't take care of themselves. What are you going to do? Well, if the parents don't take care of that relationship, that first relationship, there's nothing for the kid to hang on to. There isn't any family if the parental relationship isn't strong or the spouse relationship isn't strong. There will be no family. And then what does the child have? So that it's sort of like when on the airplane when they say if we lose air pressure, to put the mask on yourself first. So that's a relationship that's got to be more important, because if that relationship is strong, then you have a chance to raise the child. If that relationship is weak because the focus is on the child, and we see this all the time, that the focus is on the child and not the husband. The husband is disconnected from the family, so there's really no family. So it is important to maintain the spousal relationship first as children come. Not that you let your kids just play out in the street or in the backyard and for weeks on end.
You ignore them.
I don't know. I'm talking to your mama. Go find something to eat. Stove's in there.
There's a proper way to do it, but
I
you have to take care of your relationship.
Yes, your relationship with your spouse is first.
And have time to have date nights, do things to keep the fire going in your relationship, and so that you're strong enough to take care of the child.
Especially when they're 7.
Okay, why dating when you're married? Which you just hit on,
Yes.
actually.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly why. Because that's got to be the most important relationship in the house. I think maybe in 2019 with all the pseudoscience and all these people who are experts on YouTube telling people how to live their lives. Frankly, a lot of them are wrong, because even in education, we've gone through a child-centered education. You've heard that. When it should be subject-centered education, but that's just me. We have put all the emphasis on the child and not the caretakers of the children. It's like when someone is sick, it's important that the caretakers spend some time taking care of themselves as well. And we see that a lot where the caretakers just lose it after a while.
Themselves.
Yeah, my friend from the Republican Party, Joe, he had triple bypass surgery around the same time I did, and needed a lot. He didn't recover as well, so he needed a lot of care. And his wife did all the care, and then after a year, after he got better, they got divorced because she just couldn't take it anymore. She was exhausted.
And I can understand that.
No, I was kind of a big baby. Was. I don't want to eat. A bowl of salad made me cry one day.
Because he couldn't eat it.
I was so emotional. A bowl of salad made me cry. Well, the cry was nice.
Okay, what has helped you last all these years in your marriage?
For me, it's the laughter and the humor.
If you can still, no matter how crazy and scary it gets, if you can still laugh, then you've got perspective. If you can still laugh, and sometimes it's hard. It's hard to laugh. But I don't know. I've always thought that funny stuff still happens, even at the worst times. Funny stuff still happens.
He had me laughing when he was on a breathing tube in the hospital. So, and he couldn't even talk. But you could read his.
Oh, I wrote the note. Remember I wrote the note?
Yes.
I still have that note. The story is, I've told the story here. They were about to take the tube out, and I wanted to write a note. I think I wanted to say thank you or something, and the nurse gave me a little Post-it and a pen, and I had like this. And the nurse was cool. She looked at it and said,
Okay.
and she put it in her little pocket. And I saw it later. Was like, what the heck is this? Oh, we got to. And even then, I'm intubated. I just got woken up from a coma from 3 days, and it was funny.
Yeah,
I almost just died, but that was funny. It was like, I'm sorry, it's funny. Humor,
be able to laugh at yourself,
gain perspective, and maintain perspective,
and at your relationship, because sometimes we always say that we're cute when you tell people that we're cute, but a lot of times you look at us and the things that we have gotten ourselves into financially, in our home wise and different things with just raising Alex and the way when we took him to the hospital because he was constipated and he was a baby. The doctor was so funny. Oh, this is your first baby? Yes. Well, you know what? You'll be much better after you're 6. We're like, that's not funny. But it was funny. Yeah. Alex was a really quiet baby, and then just one afternoon he just wouldn't stop crying. He was screaming and screaming and screaming, and of course you think the worst, and we run over to the hospital, and he wasn't crying. He's like, he's in pain.
He's constipated. They gave him some Pedialyte. We're out the door. Steve was like, "Do you tell that story to people?" Yes, because it's a funny story. It's a funny first parent story. Yeah, first child story.
Our life has been very
adventuresome.
Yeah.
So this question is kind of similar. We had different questions submitted, but this is: what is the best advice you can give for longevity?
Don't die. What?
It all falls back to communication, keeping the intimacy, finding things that you can do. We haven't been the best financially years ago, and so
and you don't, and we learned that you don't. It's cool. It'd be cool to have a bunch of money. I don't hate money. Money's alright. But finding things that you can do, and spending time, and it's almost not even spending time; it's investing time, really. Spending time is the word spending for me is, I don't know, more of a waste and not as important. But investing time and interest in each other,
and in each other's interests, because a lot of times,
we're doing this.
Yes, a lot of times. On some of the YouTube videos I do, I tell women, find what your husband likes and learn about it. Learn about what their interests are, and keep an interest in it as well. You know, because if you don't do things together and like the same things, you're not going to have a good marriage.
In the fall, we come home from church, and Debbie turns the TV on and asks what games are on, and we watch football. Actually, I watch like the first series and take a nap, and then they watch the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. And we have a kid who played high school ball, and it was obviously our interest. And Debbie could have done what a lot of women do. They sort of abdicate that thing. That's your thing to do. Mm-hmm. But when 2/3 of your family are involved,
you have to learn it.
It would seem like you would be involved. Mm-hmm. Like I tell the young kids, who are getting married, you can't play basketball on Saturday if your wife wants to go buy curtains. Go buy curtains. Understand it. Figure out what it is. Be a part. Invest your time and yourself into whatever they want to do. That's really important, and that's a kind of intimacy that isn't a sexual intimacy, but that becomes as intimate as anything else.
That's very good. How do you overcome financial stress or setbacks in your marriage? Literally every question I ask, you touch on it.
I bang my head against the table as hard as I can, and I cry a lot. Financial problems are always going to be, I'm of the mind now, after watching a lot of people, financial situations are always going to be in the mix at some level, because we live in this world now that requires finances.
But it's important to budget and know what you're going to use for certain things, and top priority, tithing. I'm a big advocate of tithing, and that's why in church he said,
I heard I had an audible voice was in this ear, but and we're learning some, and we're learning some things. We were at Dr. Keith's Accelerate 2018. I don't know, a few months ago, in October. The idea is that even at my advanced years, the idea is to, and I tell people, the idea is to make more money. Is to really sort of look at ways that you can make more money. The whole 7 stream of income has become a real big important aspect of what we're doing going forward, and that we can do some of it together is cool. We can do our little Avon thing together, because I am Tampa Avon dude. I am.
Have a lot of streams of income
Have
coming
at
in
least
to
7.
keep some stress down.
So we're building that, and I think it's cool because you can learn. You don't have to. It's cool if you learn that at 23, because by 33 it's rocking. But if you don't learn it until 53, that's okay too. What we learn is just get started, do something, and we've been doing that together, and that's been fun. And like Pastor said, all those things are opening up in the coming year. So I'm pretty excited. The thing is,
a lot of things in the
just don't. When you have financial problems, again, we're back to and Catherine, I'm back to the very same thing, because that's my brain works. Is this more important than the relationship? Now, it's a big deal. It's up there.
Because you got to have somewhere.
It's stressful because you got to live indoors. Anyway, I have to live indoors. I'm too old, too fat, too slow to live outside and run from stuff. So I got to be behind a closed door that I can lock.
And you got to have food.
And you got to eat something.
And clothing.
So it's an important thing. But when you hit when you hit a financial bump, is that enough to throw the relationship off the cliff? And if it is, it's got to be an awful big bump, or maybe your perspective is off.
So this next question is kind of similar.
Of course.
This is, how do finances play a role in your marriage, just overall?
I don't think they play as a huge role in the marriage. But it's something that you have. It's something you do have to consider, obviously, for all the reasons we just talked about. So it isn't like you can ignore them. Obviously, that'd be cool, to have enough cash to where you never thought about it. But I still think people who have a lot of cash think about it all the time. I think people who
because that's how they keep the cash.
are ridiculously wealthy.
Still have other streams of income.
I still think they have their own set of challenges where they are. Mm-hmm. The challenge may not be how do we get the electric bill paid this month. The challenge may be something else, but everybody has their set of challenges. I think it's just keeping things in perspective and being as open as you can when you can, and understanding how that your spouse thinks about money differently than you do, or finances differently than you do, because I think that's where a lot of the conflict comes, how people think about finances, and what it means to them. Generally speaking, and I'm going to be super general here, most wives consider finances as part of a safety and security issue. Most men think of finances as a status issue. So you can tell where those two things may separate. Where one person is thinking about status, the other person is thinking about safety and security. So those things may be at odds sometimes. So.
Okay, how do you keep intimacy going in your marriage, especially when kids are in the picture?
Your relationship with your spouse is more important. So you have to make time. You have to decide there are things that you are going to do together that you're not going to take the children. Mm-hmm. So you may go see Toy Story 3, but you will not take the children. You're going to go see it together. So there.
And also, when they're small, remember the doors have locks on them. And the child should not be sleeping with you.
But there's also
all the time. I mean, there are times you're going to have them in there and stuff, but trust me, your husband does not want Alex in the middle of the bed
every day.
Every day,
and you have people, who are all the millennials who are doing all the stuff where they have the family bed. Mm-hmm. No, but no. It's again cherishing the relationship that you have with your spouse is super important, and maintaining that intimacy is super important. So if that is your focus, then everything else has to fit under that, even your children. And that's that's hard because that sounds terrible to say. It sounds terrible to say in 2019, but it's completely necessary.
And woman should be available for her husband.
Whenever. That's really the deal. Yeah, when the kids come.
Yes.
What are the most important things in your marriage?
Our faith. Our faithfulness to God and each other. Our legacy. What are they going to say when we're gone? How many people have we touched? How many lives have we improved?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And our final question, what is the best marriage advice you can give?
Marry the right person. Thank you, Pastor Rob. Marry the right person.
And I think it's important to be friends with the person before you go into a marriage, thinking about marriage and starting, engagement and so forth like that. I think that was one of the biggest things that helped us, because I knew him, I don't know. 2, 3,
I wasn't paying attention a lot in college. It's the truth.
We were friends
I was like,
for
I
a
don't know.
long time.
Every day
before
was
we
like, I was like
even-
a goldfish.
And if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have even probably asked me out.
Yeah.
Because I asked him, I said, well, we go out to get with friends and stuff. We would all go out after work and everything. And I said, well, why don't me and you just go out? And he was like, what?
And do what? Go where? I was living life like a goldfish. Every day was new.
And we used to close together almost every night.
I didn't make the schedule. It was Mark. I didn't do that. I was just there. I closed 'cause I needed the hours. I need the money.
So, being the best advice for marriage is to be friends first, and get to know that person as a friend, and then let the relationship grow.
If that's what if that's what happens, yeah. I mean, I think that Debbie's right in that sense. That's the best way. But it still boils down to marry the right person, and then marry for the right reasons and understand what love is.
And
That
know
love
what
is
the vows mean.
that love is a decision. It's not a feeling. That's really. I mean, I think that's probably the most important advice that I give people all the time is understand that love is not a feeling. Love is a decision, because you don't fall in love. You fall in the hole. I fell in love. No, the idea is that what can happen is that will you love them? Will they love you when you're not lovable? Will Debbie love me when I'm not lovable?
And I think that we were put to the test 5 years
In
ago.
2014, it's been 5 years since the thing. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very cute with the tube down my neck. I was not cute. When I was recovering, and I tell you what, the recovery was the worst part. I was sad a lot. The Publix Thanksgiving commercials used to make me cry. Am I kidding?
No, you're right.
I was a mess. I was not lovable. So when people can love you when you're not lovable, that's the thing. They have to make that decision first, that they're going to love you regardless. And I think that's some of the best advice. Marry the right person, and be friends first, and understand that love is just a decision, not a feeling.
And make the decision that you're not going to give up.
And don't quit. Just don't quit. Can't make me quit. Too legit to quit.
Okay, that was very good. There's definitely a lot.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. Anything else we can do for you?
That's all. That concludes all of our questions, our relationship questions.
Outstanding. And this will be up, I don't know, tomorrow, next day, I don't know.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. After the newsletter comes out.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about if and when you guys can see the newsletter. If we can see it, we'll put it in the comments below. How about that? Rock and roll. All right. Hey, hon, thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you.